Introducing Zentrix AI-powered trading signals service. Tired of second-guessing your trades? Zentrix AI scans the markets 24/7 with powerful, proven indicators, built to give you clarity. You get 200+ signals every day on 15-minute, 1-hour, 4-hour, and daily charts. We cover Forex, crypto, commodities, indices, and stocks, so you're covered no matter what you trade. And the best part, you get all this delivered 3 ways, every day. Web alerts give you fast, clean access right from your dashboard. Telegram delivers real-time entries, confidence levels, sentiment, and trade duration. And email gives you the full breakdown, including 2 profit target levels and deep market analysis. Just hold $5 worth of ZTR. See what you can achieve with powerful AI trading intelligence by Zentrix. Try it now. And join our Telegram channel.
Okay, what's up people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing good. Welcome. Yep, right, Mike. As always guys, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. Share it with your friends and hit the bell if you haven't done so already, so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. As always, we'll go through the USD side of things first. Take a look at the dollar, DXY majors, gold and silver. If there's any requests, drop it in the chat. We'll take a look at any particular pairs you're after, any particular time frames, or you just want to share some trades or some setups you're looking at. Feel free to drop it in the chat. We'll also take a look at the perps platform as well. If you haven't checked it out already, there is links in the description to that, but something we've been working on for the past few months, which I am excited to share with you guys. Welcome Savvy, hope you are doing good. So let us jump straight into things. So we'll start with the dollar, which has been back and forth. We had a bit of news yesterday, but yeah, it didn't really affect the market much. A little bit of a bounce, but altogether, DXY is still very much trapped within this range. So in terms of opportunities, there's not much I'm looking at, not much I'm looking to trade, at least for now anyway. As I've been saying, waiting for price to kind of explode outside this range to find a direction, and then we can look for opportunities in terms of trending opportunities. Of course, looking to buy low, sell high. I do understand that's an opportunity within itself. Looking to play the range, it makes a lot of sense. Euro is doing something very similar. There's been opportunities to try and buy the lows and sell the highs there as well. So if you're looking at range play, of course, there's something that could potentially happen. Probably not today, since today's already Friday, so probably early next week or some point next week. We could be trading at these lows, potentially if we see some adequate rejection. There could be some nice longs there on the dollar, or perhaps shorts on euro dollar. So within the range, there are opportunities within itself, but in terms of looking for the next big swing, you're back to highs, back to lows, is this overall trend going to continue and price going to continue lower, or are we going to reverse and start to see an uptrend? That question is still up in the air. We are still in an area where we could potentially form a higher low, but equally we are having trouble at seeing that high low really form and break into the upside. So until I see price do something like this, up or down, my kind of long-term bias, swing bias, is very much paused at this moment in time. So until we get the breakout, as I said, just kind of looking to trade the range really until we can get a sustained break. Euro dollar, pretty much the same outlook as well. Very flat at the moment, equal highs, equal lows, and we've been back and forth. Lovely rejection this week. Price came back into the low. Nice rejection of that, and now looks like price is trying to make a way back to the high of the range, where again we'll go through the same situation. Does price find resistance there and fall over? Do we get the breakout? And again, we've got a long-term uptrend at play. If this uptrend is still alive and well, still kicking, do range high, break out that counter trend line as well. Then at that point, we got an uptrend back on our hands and probably going to tick off these highs and so on and so forth. Likewise, if price is going to top out, if this is going to be a lower high like we'll be doing over here, then I do want to see price clear the low of this range, and then we can be talking about a push here and maybe price going further as well. So DXY, Euro USD, pretty much giving us the same outlook, same analysis. Very, very flat. confined between support and resistance until we get a major break of one of those two levels. Again, my swing bias is pretty much paused, pretty much neutral. But like I said, if you're looking for more intraday opportunities, perhaps you're looking to try and catch a short at the high if we can see some nice rejection maybe next week. Pound USD, similar as well. I would also say we're quite flat with Pound USD. Again, trying to trade in these areas might be a bit difficult because you're not seeing price, show any signs of continuation. We've got really strong candles over here, but they didn't really amount to nothing. So it's a sign that, okay, despite the strength, despite momentum, we're not seeing any conviction. We're seeing big candles, but it's not like it's starting a trend. Price is pushing up aggressively and just coming back down again and pushing back up. So it's effectively choppy conditions, ranging conditions. And again, as someone who prefers trending markets, who prefers direction, we're not quite seeing that right now with pounds. So as I've said, coming into the week, very much just focused on the highs and the lows. If price can, of course, break to the upside, break through resistance there, well, I'll be looking at a push back to the swing high at 1.38 almost. And if you do break to the downside, well, of course, I'll be pretty bearish and looking for a swing back into the lows here around 1.315. So as price chops around in here, not really interested, at least in my personal trading anyway, I'm not really interested in the price action. More so once we do pick a direction, which at the moment isn't looking quite clear. Still finding resistance, but we're still finding support as well. So very much up in the air, and I think this all ties back to dollar. Dollar's really flat as well, so when dollar finally picks a direction, then hopefully pound USD will pick a direction as well, and we'll see some opportunities off the back of that. Dollar CAD, however, is looking really bearish, and yeah, I think we can see more downside for dollar CAD. If you look at the higher time frames and where we're trading, we're rejecting a very, very critical level of resistance, which I think is quite interesting because if we do a good job here, if we reject the level well here, it could actually kickstart a really big downturn for dollar CAD. You can see we've found resistance here on a few occasions, each time giving us some really serious bearish moves. We're back here again. This is almost looking like a massive fake out of that same level. And I wouldn't be surprised if we push back to lows here. I wouldn't be surprised if we push back to lows here. I wouldn't even be surprised if we push all the way down here as well. Effectively, dollar CAD has been ranging between support and resistance. And if you view this as a big fake out and now we're back within the range, there's a pretty good chance you do end up back at the low of the range, near enough 1.32. Of course, there's a very long-term swing bias, but you wouldn't be surprised if that does happen. At least a push back to this area I think is pretty reasonable. You can see the weekly price action. Of course, today's Friday, so we're going to get the weekly candles closing. I think we get the monthly candles. Yeah, we do get the monthly candle closing today as well. Just realized that. So again, the weekly and the monthly close, and we can look at a few weekly and monthly candle close as we go through the stream, because I'm quite interested to see how August is going to close. But at least if you look at the weekly candle here for dollar CAD, we're seeing some fairly decent wicks rejecting such a key level, and looks like momentum shifting bearish. So I wouldn't be surprised over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks we do make a push to the downside, and dollar CAD shorts is where it's at. So dropping back to the 4-hour chart, now it's starting to get some bearish structure in play with some nice momentum. I would suggest if you can pull back and retest that, that becomes a nice area of supply and a really nice area for a short. So I'm liking what I'm seeing with dollar CAD, really corrective on the way up. I do think we can see price eventually push lower. So despite the DXY not really showing signs of a direction yet, I think dollar CAD speaks for itself really. Aussie dollar pushing to the upside, coming back into resistance. I talked about a couple areas where shorts look good for Aussie dollar. For me, the market's been very, very flat, so I'm not so interested in trading it. But I do think short term you can find some nice opportunities. Really aggressive rejection off this low. Price found support here. Of course, we had some news which caused that price to really skyrocket, but it was a very nice rejection. And the way I see it, the market is quite flat. We're not really having direction, so to speak. You can argue that there's a slight uptrend, but it's really, really flat and nothing I'll get excited about. So the way I'll look to tackle this is just look to find significant resistance, looking for opportunities at those areas, significant support as well, and just see how we perform. I could see a situation where price comes into resistance, he respects it well, has a nice move and then potentially continues higher. This move itself could be worthwhile trading. Of course, potentially we could see a big move as well. Anything could happen, but I do think because of how choppy price is and how flat we are likely to see a rejection from this area. If not, then from the high over there. So that's really where my interest is for Aussie dollar. Looking for some reactions off those areas. Not really looking for a big swing, just more so a reaction. Because in terms of direction, I think we're quite flat and don't really have a bias for Aussie dollar. So it's more so just finding significant levels to short from or buy from. As for New Zealand dollar, this one has been heading in a bit of a descending structure here. We've got the low of the channel and we've got the high of the channel over there. And looks like price is making a move back to the high end. So just continuing, the buyers continuing the market structure. As price moves back into the top end of the channel, this is where, of course, shorts will become an opportunity again, because all a descending channel is just a range, just at a slant. So you treat it the same, looking to buy at the lows, sell at the highs. Of course, keeping an eye on the breakouts, there could be opportunities there as well. But as price does make a move back to resistance, this could be a nice place for a short, depending how we react and depending on what type of price action we see. If, of course, we do see a breakout, that could be a signal to say, okay, we are going to see a continuation. Maybe price makes a move back to highs. We can speak more about that, once we start to see those signs happening. But for now, as we push to the top end of the channel, we'll see what we can get. But naturally, looking for short opportunities and perhaps even a swing back to lows. Of course, USD weakness or strength will play a big role in that. I want to see what the DXY is doing. But for now, that's the best opportunity I can see. And as for gold, strength is still at play. We are taking out resistance here. I think the key thing for gold is now that we're pushing back to the top end of the range. So this is where things are going to get interesting again. You can see reactions over there, reactions over there, reactions over there. And now price is not too far away from that same area again. So it's make or break for gold. Are we going to break through this area? Are we going to come back and respect it and see another drop? Who knows? Only time will tell, really. Of course, if you look at the higher time frames, gold is, of course, in an uptrend overall, but we have been sideways. So this is just price building up for another big move. It might be a bullish swing. It might be a bearish one. Until we get the breakout, I wouldn't really try and pick one or the other. There's no point. Just wait for the breakout and then we can judge. But as I've been saying all this time, I'm not interested in gold until we do push back to the top or the bottom of the range. We're very close to the top. So this is where opportunities lie, whether we're looking to take breakout opportunities or break and retest opportunities, or price rejects the level well and we do see a move down. We'll find out, one or the other. But this is where the focus is. I would say we're quite corrective. So if price is going to break out, we do need to pick up momentum at some point in time. But yeah, the judgment just depends on how we react with that area for now. So that's where the focus is, around 34.30. And as for silver, looking pretty bullish, I think. Yeah, somewhat. We're stuck at resistance. We did have a nice break and retest of that area of supply. Demand, sorry. Nice reaction to the upside, really aggressive candle. Came back for a retest, lovely break of the counter trend line, and we've seen some nice upside since then. Price does have some highs over there at 39.46, which I do think price has a good chance to go and retest. In terms of opportunities for silver, I think the only one that makes sense is if price does push back into the low. I wouldn't want to be buying up here. Maybe some intraday opportunities on like a retest of this area, the last high, which gave us this low break of structure. This could provide support for us to rally again. The only reason why I'm not the biggest fan is because we do have resistance not too far away. So I'd rather we do have that bigger push down. Maybe we can form a nice double bottom at this area of demand. I think naturally that's just a smart place for a buy. Of course, the overall trend is still up for gold, so naturally looking for buying opportunities, and I do still think there's a good chance we do make our way back to the swing high. So yeah, silver struggling at resistance. It would be nice if we push back down into support and find some longs off there. Maybe we do that, maybe we don't, but that's really where I would like to position myself if I was looking to take some entries. And if we do break to the upside, then there might be some nice intraday break and retest opportunities on the way up, maybe like on the 50-minute chart, something like that. So if we don't have the bigger pullback, that is what I think would be the next best opportunity. So yeah, gold and silver looking fairly bullish, approaching some big levels of resistance. So we'll find out what they're made of, if they're actually going to get the breakout or just fall flat in their face. Dollar is still up in the air, I would say, not really kind of giving me a clear direction. Out of all the USD pairs, I think dollar CAD looks the most interesting. I think there's a lot of downside opportunity there, and I quite like the look of that one for some pullbacks next week. As for the other USD pairs, kind of want to get the ball rolling a little bit. Anyway, good morning, people. Welcome to the stream. Hope everyone is well. What's up, Ivan? Good morning. Hope you're doing good. Savvy, what's up? Good sell on Aussie Swiss. We can take a look and investigate. No problem. Tashi, good morning. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Matta, good morning. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Gold intraday buys, please help analyze from hour to hour. Okay, we can take a look at gold for hour. I mean, gold is approaching resistance, so I'm not sure how much room there is for a gold buy, but we can take a look nonetheless. Dimar, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Welcome. FX Bashi, appreciate it, my man. As always, guys, if you're enjoying the content, finding it useful, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell, share it with your friends, and of course drop any chats, any questions, any charts you want me to take a look at in the chat, and we shall discuss. Where's my I completely forgot again. My bad, Bashi, my bad. Now I've got a whole weekend to do that. Today was annoying, bro. Very good trade. Entry for the break and the candle. Yeah, part of trading, my man. Part of trading, of course. It's a part of trading, but it is annoying at the same time as well. Yeah, especially when you're swing trading, you can spot opportunity for like a week in advance, and you still don't get the entry you're looking for. And if it still plays out as well, because of course you have to wait all that time for it to set up, and then it not quite set up how you like it to. At least on the lower time frames, the next one's always around the corner. And you're not waiting too long. But yeah, nonetheless, you hate to see it happen. In promoting the shit, appreciate it, my man. Thank you. Oh, really? Okay, because I'm on StreamYard. So I can't. Yeah, I can't do it on StreamYard. I'll have to go onto YouTube because I'm streaming through StreamYard, which connects to my YouTube channel. And did not mean to do that, but I think that's a great message to highlight nonetheless. Yeah, I think I'll have to log into the YouTube to do that. Matter when you start trading and when and what was your breakthrough? I started trading about 8.5 years ago now. 8.5? Is it 8.5? No, 8 years. 8 years. It was 8 years summer. Breakthrough, again, there's no like a breakthrough like you just break through. Trading something you happen gradually. It's a gradual kind of improvement, and then you kind of look back and you're like, okay, yeah, I can see some consistency. There's not like one thing, okay, I just broke through. Well, not in my experience anyway. But around the kind of 3-year mark was kind of when I was looking back and see some good consistency behind my results. Not so much that, okay, every month I'm just hitting, absolute great months, but the equity curve is just kind of slowly gradually pointing up. That's the key thing to look out for, because of course you will have some down periods, you will have some drawdowns, and you can't look at that in isolation and say, okay, trading's not necessarily working. If you look at the whole picture and your equity cover is naturally heading up, that's really what the consistency is. And then from there, it's just improvement, refining, and slowly getting better at your craft. But yeah, there's no kind of like one breakthrough moment. Yeah, trading isn't really like that. It's not like, okay, I just found something and it just worked, because there's so many different components, so many different kind of things that have to come together. Of course, you might find some things that really help you out, but trading's very much, you have to get everything together first. If there's something missing, that will be your downfall. Anyway, then we'll go through the perps platform, and then we shall continue with some of the requests. So of course, any requests, just drop it in the chat, and I shall go through it. And if I do forget anything, I'm sure you guys will let me know. Anyway, so if you haven't checked out the perps platform, we do have a link to it in the description. So if you haven't checked it out, and I do have a video on my channel as well, kind of going through a longer breakthrough of how the platform works, what perps trading is all about. So if you are new to the concept, new to the platform, I do recommend to go and check out that video, which has a bit more in detail information on the platform. But simply a platform that allows you to trade perps. At the moment, we only have cryptocurrencies on the platform, but FX, indices, commodities are coming very, very soon. The beauty of the platform is that it's very easy to use, it very easy to set up. There's no kind of long-winded process, a lot of information you need to give out, like some of the bigger kind of brokers with centralized on centralized platforms. Everything here is decentralized, so it's very quick, easy to set up anywhere in the world. You can connect your Ethereum or Solana wallet direct to the platform and begin trading straight away. If you don't have a wallet, I would recommend to get one, but if you don't, you can use your email as well. And you can begin trading straight away, just as you do with pretty much any kind of trading platform. Buy, sell. Perps is very similar to trading CFDs. You're kind of just speculating on price. You're looking to buy and hoping price goes up. You're looking to sell, hoping for price to go down, and you make a profit on the difference, of course. And with any platform, you can buy, sell, set market orders, stop orders, take profit, stop loss. You can even scale in and scale out positions as well. And you do have some AI assistants to help you out as well, which will give you analysis, risk assessment, sentiment, even some full hour setups if there is a setup there is to trade as well. So if you are interested in the platform, I do highly recommend to go check it out. We do have a competition as well coming out soon with this as well, just for a bit of fun, to get people up to speed with the platform and playing around with it. And if you're interested, do keep an eye out for that. But a lot more to come regarding our perps platform. And if you haven't checked out the Zentrix community Telegram, I've left the link and I've pinned it at the top of the chat, so you can't miss it. Anywho, let's go through some pairs. Okay, we'll go through Aussie CHF for Savvy first, and then take the gold for Matter. Okay, so Aussie Swiss. So Aussie CHF, yeah, really corrective. I'm not the biggest fan of the price action here. I know we kind of came back into lows, respected it pretty well, but I'm not liking the way we pushed up. And that's kind of the nature of Aussie CHF. It can wick around a little bit and look just a little bit corrective. It's not as clean as some of the USD major pairs like a Euro or Pound USD. CHF pairs can be a little bit awkward at some times. And this move, despite it being a pretty big move, it looks quite corrective to me, so I'm not the biggest fan. But I do have a bullish bias for Aussie Swiss. We are trading at all-time lows. These were the prior all-time lows back in March 2020. That was actually COVID. Price has swept those lows, and I do think the larger move, the bigger swing for Aussie CHF will be a big recovery. If you look at the history of the price action, that's how price moves. Every time we do sweep the lows, you can see very big recoveries, and I don't think it'll be any different in the near future. Of course, timing that is where the difficulty lies, because price could always go a little bit further to the downside. We could, of course, see some new lows again before that does happen, and that could take you out the market before you do catch the move. But what I do like about Aussie CHF, it looks like we are starting to somewhat find the bottom here. I was actually in a long trade over here, and trying to anticipate the breakout. We did see a bit of momentum, but as soon as price came back down, I did exit that trade because momentum did die. I was liking the consolidation price had here, trying to anticipate price to start trending higher, but all we did was form a lower high. It came back down, so I got out the trade pretty quickly. We did come back and respect support, which is a good sign because now it looks like we're forming just a wider range, a bigger consolidation. So it looks like we are forming some type of bottom here. We have been quite corrective on the way down, so I do think within due time we can do something like this. But yeah, I would kind of wait for us to get that breakout really. So if price can start to show signs of this happening, then okay, the bullish opportunities are very much on. Looking for pullbacks and break and retest opportunities will be very much the plan. We've got this massive area of supply just above us. I do think we're very likely to come back and retest that zone. That's actually where I was targeting when I was in my trade a few weeks ago. I do think price long term is very likely to come back and retest that. But in terms of a good kind of clear-cut opportunity, this is kind of where it would be, whether you're even taking opportunities on the breakout or kind of looking for the first few pullbacks afterwards. In here, we're still flat, and I wouldn't be surprised if we keep falling as well. Price did create some all-time lows here. Maybe we're trying to create some new ones before we do see the big bullish move. So you don't want to jump the gun here. We are still quite flat, but we are still quite bearish. We are still forming these lower highs, and perhaps the market still wants to continue and form some more. So unless we're seeing evidence of structure changing, momentum changing, breakouts to the upside, break of structure to the upside, then sure, the longs make sense again. And again, I'm speaking more from a swing bias here, but yeah, Aussie CHF, I do have a bullish bias, but for now, I would say the market is quite flat. It looks like we're approaching some resistance along here as well. You can see price has rejected this on quite a few occasions. Might see it better on the 4-hour chart. So we are hitting some resistance now. Maybe price does make a move to the downside. I'm not really seeing much of an opportunity there, or at least a high quality one. All I see, the market is really flat. I'd rather us, wait for kind of breakout opportunities, either to the upside or to the downside. If you do break lower, I think this will become a really nice place for a short, and we can probably look for continuations as price descends. So yeah, right now I would say we're in the middle of the range, so not too interested with Aussie CHF. There is some resistance prices testing here, but the significance of it isn't really doing much for me, so I'll leave it alone. But yeah, it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for that longer term swing, we've still got a lot of waiting to do, at least before it looks likely to form. And if price is just going to be bearish and continue, I think if you can break lower, that'll show momentum is back into the market. And if we can catch a retest, that'll be great. And you still got the lows there to potentially target as well. But right now, I would say we're very flat. So just waiting for price to make its move really. As for gold on the 4-hour and hourly charts, you were talking about buys. I'm not so keen on buys really for gold. I know we have seen some bullish momentum and prices picked up. We just saw a strong close recently, but number one, we are really corrective. So that's not really something that gets me excited to follow the trend. If we're seeing like clean bullish swings, then yeah, that would be great. But we are very, very corrective here. So I don't like looking to buy that type of condition. Number two, we've just taken out some highs. We're at a sensitive area where price can have a pretty deep retracement if it wanted to, especially considering how corrective we are. So that's another kind of red flag to be looking for buys straight away. And even if we do get into some buys, you do have a pretty big obstacle just ahead of you. So if you are trying to trade this on the 4-hour hourly chart, I don't think the risk will be that great. Maybe have a bit more luck if you drop to like a 15, where the swings will be a bit more meaningful. You might have a bit more luck there, but we do have a pretty big obstacle ahead of us. So from a 4-hour hourly perspective, my focus is really here. If price can get there, that'll be great. And then we'll see what price is going to do. Is it going to reject the level? Is it going to break through? Nonetheless, there'll be opportunities in both directions. So it's just a waiting game and finding out what price is likely to do next. So yeah, gold 4-hour hourly. I'm not really seeing much of a buy opportunity. I know, like I said, there is somewhat of an uptrend here, and price could pull back into some structure, perhaps see the next higher low. But I just think it's just a very sensitive place for a buy. The fact that we're trading at the highs here, so that will put me off the trade. And the fact that we've got such key resistance just above our heads, I'd rather just wait for price to hit that area, if it does hit that area, of course. And then look for opportunities around those levels. This, yeah, base to own position doesn't give me too much confidence. So, yeah, I would stay away. If you really want to buy the market, I would suggest keep an eye on a breakout. Not necessarily to buy in the breakout, but maybe some retests or some pullbacks afterwards. And maybe you go and tap the all-time highs around 3,500. So yeah, I'm not quite with it on the buys just yet. Yes, we can take a look at New Zealand CHF, book some profit. Nice. Didn't you? Was it you that asked me about New Zealand CHF yesterday? Can't remember. Someone did. But yeah, we can take a look at New Zealand CHF as well. Oh, I have YouTube open in the background so I can see what they see. Yeah, I mean, StreamYards kind of allows me to see what people will see as well, to be honest. But of course, yeah, I can see why you use YouTube as well. But I used to use OBS, but then I switched over to StreamYard because it's a little bit more flexible in terms of the things I can do with it. But OBS is still good software as well. Yeah, 8 years. It's been a while. Before I could comment on my OBS for the chat, then it stopped, so I need to fix it. Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I used OBS for quite at least a year or two. So it did its job. It did its job. I mean, StreamYard I wouldn't say is much better. It's just a few elements, flexibility, which I like. Okay, we'll take a look at New Zealand CHF. Appreciate it, Bashi. What's up, Yusuf? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Welcome. I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. Flexible, how's that? For so far, OBS is okay. Just weird YouTube chat issue. Yeah, in terms of just kind of doing different things, like it allows me to kind of mess around with like different slides and different pages. I mean, I use it pretty much in the most basic way possible, but if I want to like invite a guest, I can do that very easily. If I want to add like a different window and add that to the chat, I can do that pretty easily as well. I can change like the formation around pretty easily as well, and play with that. I mean, again, I don't really do too much of that, but it's pretty easy to do that as well. In terms of adding like other videos and other sounds as well, it's pretty easy to do that. Upload it, and we can add it to the stream pretty easily as well. So in terms of all of that moving around, I find it a lot easier. Because OBS is actually a software designed more for gamers rather than just streaming in general, where StreamYard is kind of just general streaming. So with OBS, it was like very game orientated. So it didn't really kind of do it for me. I mean, again, in terms of just streaming, it would do the job. It will do the job 100%. Okay, we'll go take a look at New Zealand CHF. Got stop break even. Which one's that? Yeah, exactly. You don't need yeah, OBS will do the job. You don't need anything special. It's just that. Yeah, I prefer StreamYard, and they're pretty much similar in price as well. So not much change there. Yusuf, Mika, do you play games much? No, not really, actually. I don't play much games. Never really did that when I was younger either. I don't mind games. I just never really gravitated towards it, to be honest. Anyway, New Zealand Swiss. So this one, yeah, looking pretty bearish, even more bearish than Aussie CHF, which we just had a look at. I'm pretty sure these are the all-time lows, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they are. So, yeah, the trend still looks pretty much bearish to me. We're still on a downturn. You can see the consistency with the lower highs here. Relentless lower highs. And, yeah, we have not shown any signs of that kind of shifting just yet. So with New Zealand CHF, although I do, again, similar to Aussie CHF, expect the bigger move to be to the upside and expecting a bit of a recovery. We've been on a huge downturn since the high here, Feb 2021. Very just consistent lower highs all the way down. So I do think at some point this trend's going to bottom out and have a recovery similar to what we had here, maybe something similar to what we had there as well. So a long overdue that, but again, we're not going to necessarily anticipate that because it's very, very difficult to do that. And you'll probably find yourself in a situation where you kind of get stopped out, and then eventually you get the move. And then in terms of risk reward, it might not even be much difference between the losses and the wins. So I'd rather wait for signs of price actually shifting first and then try and get on the pullbacks there. And that's when I'll be bullish. So until then, I'm pretty bearish on New Zealand CHF. And because we have, of course, broken outside this consolidation, this becomes a really nice area for a retest, for some more downside. This looks really corrective on the way up anyway. So it looks like momentum is still with the bears, and this looks like just a correction to me. So if I drop to the 4-hour chart, yeah, this just looks really corrective, and this is where all the momentum is. So if we can get a pullback, retest some structure here, I think that looks like a really nice opportunity for a short, and perhaps just continue the trend like we've been doing for the past few years now, back to lows, and then maybe even back to the all-time lows at 0.463. So yeah, New Zealand CHF looking pretty bearish to me. I can understand maybe some counter trend opportunities for the short term, but momentum is very much with the bears. We just looked at the higher time frames, bears in charge. I wouldn't really try and go against that, to be honest. I would just stick with the bears for now and keep shorting. Like I said, I think the buys will be the big move, and when it happens, I think there'll be some really nice momentum, really nice trades, but we're not quite there yet. Okay, Euro USD. Stopped at break even. What's happening in Euro? I'm zooming 50-minute Yusuf. As always. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Euro, to be honest. Very, very flat conditions. Very, very flat. Again, once price is in that range, it's anyone's guess, anyone's game. I was looking for longs and flex into shorts, but missed shorts as well. Yeah, I think Euro's just in a range as well, so I think the opportunities just won't be as good as they could be. Again, on the low time frames, you can make a bit more out of it, but I think the market price action is really, really flat right now. So I think if you are going to take some opportunities, I think keeping it short and sweet is good, because you catch that initial reaction, then you're out the trade. When things are quite choppy and quite chaotic, you find yourself in a situation where you take a nice trade, it goes in your favor, and then just comes back against you, and you maybe get stopped out break even. And that's just because it's the nature of the market. We're not seeing big swings necessarily. It's more kind of fluctuation. So kind of get in, get out is probably the better way to trade it, really. Yeah, until we get some type of trend going or momentum, I'm not expecting much of Euro or a lot of the USD pairs for now, apart from dollar CAD. I really like dollar CAD. Thoughts on Euro and Pound USD? Okay, we can take a look, Yusuf, no problem. Jay Jones, morning. Hope you're well. Hey, appreciate it. Big fan of your content from New York. Nice, the Big Apple. How's your Aussie yen trade? Really like your analysis. Appreciate it, Jay. Appreciate it. Yes, I will go through my Aussie yen positions. In a bit of profit at the moment. I managed to trail my stops at break even. So I mean, we'll quickly go through it now, and then we'll take a look at Euro and Pound. So we're seeing some signs that price may break to the upside, but it looks really, really corrective. So I'm not getting my hopes up, to be honest. I've managed to trail my stops just above break even. They were originally over here, but as price started creating structure in my favor, I have managed to trail them into a bit of profit. And really, it's I mean, I'm trading my stop loss to go along with market structure, but it's also providing me protection because this kind of looks like a ticking time bomb, and then price could make a move lower. I say that because we're really corrective, and typically if price is going to break to the upside, we need momentum, and that's kind of the key component we're missing right now. We've been very consistent with these lower highs as well, and I wonder, is this going to be another one? And again, my thought process with this trade is not to kind of micromanage it, because the whole idea with this trade is to perhaps catch a higher low and a continuation on the daily chart. This was our bearish structure for a while, and then we started to create some bullish structure, and now I'm anticipating potentially catching the next higher low, hopefully the next higher high. So I don't want to get in the way of myself, of remove risk. So in terms of management, I think I'm okay in that end. I could potentially just close the trade here and run because of signs of rejection, but I'd rather risk price going against me for the bigger move than walk away with the decent amount of profits, probably just about 1R there, and then potentially miss out on the bigger move there. So I'm going to try and hold for the bigger move, but we are kind of just stuck at this channel right now, and we'll see what the next move will be. Yen's still a bit of a mixed bag, whether it's going to be weak or strong. I think that's still up in the air. But yeah, happy with the trade so far. Hopefully we can see some more upside on that position. In terms of Euro and Pound USD, so we can take, I mean, from a 4-hour perspective, as I said, for Euro, just really, really flat, equal highs, equal lows, a lot of indecision until price takes out the high or takes out the low. I'm not really 100% on a direction, really. So for that reason, I'm staying on the sidelines. But in terms of intraday opportunities, I don't mind longs here, actually, because I did speak about this yesterday. I did say since we've had a strong rejection off the low, now naturally we're looking for price to push to the high of the range. You're just looking at kind of simple moves. If price rejects the low, you expect it to go to the high. If price rejects the high, you expect to go back to the low. So that's very much the thought process, nothing more than that. The reason why I say I like the buys is because, of course, we do somewhat have some bullish structure here. So there is some logic looking for longs. There is the retest of the high, which I think we just about missed there. Yeah, we didn't quite get that retest. So I actually don't mind longs for Euro. Again, as I was just mentioning, I'll keep it short and sweet, not trying to shoot for the moon here, like a swing all the way back to highs. Maybe that does happen, but I'll play it safe with these conditions. If I can, let's say if I can get a buy here and price makes a move to resistance there, I'd probably say that's a good point to start looking to close the trade, or at least manage it a lot more aggressively. Maybe the high there as well, but I would worry that we kind of get caught in a bit of a mess here. Of course, maybe price does have that rally, but I wouldn't necessarily bank on that happening. I think that's my key point. But yeah, I quite like the buys because there's some bullish structure. There is some momentum at play here. So if we were to get a push down here, I think that could be a smart place for a buy. Taking out some of these lows, just about some early buys with some stop losses underneath that low. We can take them out whilst testing some prior structure to our left. So yeah, I quite like the buys there on the 15 for Euro. Pound USD, not quite doing the same thing. Looking really, really bearish actually on the 15. So there's a big shift between Euro and Pound at the moment. We can have a look at Euro Pound, to see that kind of shift. But clearly, Pound's a lot weaker than Euro right now. So Euro Pound should be pushing up. And again, in terms of the 4-hour structure here, same as Euro, really, really flat. Still waiting for breakouts in either direction for my judgment. My swing bias, if price breaks the floor here, I'm going to be pretty bearish going to next week, looking to target the lows. If price breaks to the upside, I'll be very bullish, and I'll be looking to target the highs. So, as simple as that, really. As price is in the middle of everything, I have no idea what the play is. We could fluctuate up and down, and quite frankly, I wouldn't be interested myself, just because, again, I don't really have an edge there. So I would rather stay away than try and force anything. As for the 50-minute chart, I'm not seeing much here either, to be honest, because at least for Euro, we had some signs of like a nice trend forming to some degree. If I quickly flick over to Euro, there's a trend here, there's market structure at play. Might not be the cleanest trend, but we can take advantage of that. Pound USD, I have no idea what this is doing. Because we had this counter trend here. We had this initially this really aggressive bullish move. Then we had this counter trend play. There's a kind of makeshift counter trend line. Price broke through that. So maybe at that point we were going to push back to highs. We didn't do that. We topped out just before we did that. Now we're looking bearish again, but now we're pushing back into some areas of demand. Do we find support here and form another higher low and push back up? Maybe. It's just very, very up in the air right now for pound USD. I think on the lower time frames you might find some intraday pullbacks, like a maybe a 5 minute or like a 3 minute chart. Something like this might make sense, because of course at the moment there's a lot of momentum in the market, and you can see how consistent we've been with all of these lower highs here. So let's say if we do push back into structure, there's a good chance you do see another swing, and that could make sense to take advantage of. But you're kind of very zoomed in and you're just taking a small piece of the pie here. As for the bigger move, even the 15-minute chart, it just doesn't look clear cut to me at all. So yeah, not much help there in pound, because simply I don't really understand what price is doing. Again, don't feel obligated to actually know what price is going to do next. Sometimes you look at the chart and you just don't know, and that's perfectly fine as well. You don't need to know necessarily. It's the times when you do have a good understanding of what the market's likely to do next. That's the time to strike, or at least start looking for opportunities. If things are looking clear, worst thing to do is go and try and take a trade there, because not only are you kind of making something up, but you're not going to be confident when you do it as well. And you got to be confident with every trade you take, because then if you're not confident, your emotions will come into play times 10. You probably will mismanage the trade as well. And yeah, that's just not a good place to be in. So you want to be confident with every position, and being confident means that you're confident in the analysis. And yeah, inside there, I wouldn't be personally. So yeah, euro, I can see something. Pound, nada. Can't see anything there in pound really, unless you just get a write down. You kind of take advantage of that momentum, sure. Otherwise, not a big fan. What's up, Michelle? Good morning. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Scarface, can you share thoughts on GJ? Of course, we can take a look at GJ for you, no problem. DAX on the 1 minute. Anton loves the 1 minute time frame. Sure thing. We can take a look. Looking to sell, looking for a sell on Aussie dollar. Okay. I'd like to know your thoughts. Okay, so GJ, DAX, Aussie dollar. We can take a look. Yeah, so we're seeing some pound weakness, GJ as well. Yeah, pound USD down 50 pips, EU down 7 pips. Yeah, so clearly pound is seeing some weakness at the moment. What's up, CS Integrated? My man, welcome to the stream. Hope you are well. Hey, thank you, Bashi. Yeah, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell, share with your friends, all that good stuff. Does really help out the channel. I do really appreciate that. Anyway, let's take a look at the pound yen. So, okay, looks like we're picking up some momentum here. Your price looks like it's breaking out of this messy price action and starting to see some momentum, but we are just coming back into support, so I wouldn't get too excited just yet. But what pound yen looks to me is, looks like we're just struggling at highs, and now we're slowly picking up bearish momentum. We tried to break through the highs in a few attempts, basically come to nothing, and now looks like the bears are starting to take charge. If that's the case, well, I would expect to see eventually a push back down to these lows here, back to 195.5. And this could turn into somewhat of a trend on the way down. So, of course, lower highs there. Do we start breaking structure? Lower lows, could look for a retest, another lower high, so on and so forth. This could just be like a very slow trend that's starting to pick up the pace a little bit. So if I was looking to trade pound yen, especially from an intraday point of view, if I dropped to like an hourly chart, I'd wait for things to pick up, because things still look quite flat. Despite the momentum here, we are just crashing back into support, and for all we know, we could still bounce here, and things just look quite awkward again. But let's say if we don't, let's say if price actually does break through the low and does it well and maintains some of that momentum, well, that makes me pretty bearish for GJ. It looks to me that price has just come back to highs, rejected it, and now we're going to probably push back to lows. So at that point, whether we're looking for a retest of, the low here, or even a retest of this range, which will turn into like a nice area of supply, if you can see a convincing break lower, I would suggest a pullback either to here or a pullback there could actually perform a nice opportunity for a short, especially intraday. And yeah, I will be expecting us to continue lower. So GJ may be warming up to something. I would still say it's quite unclear. As I said, we could still very much bounce at support and then things become very choppy again. So again, us breaking low is quite crucial for the shorts to look quite good. We are still really, really corrective and still really, really flat. And I still don't like the price action of GJ, to be honest. Intraday, 4-hour chart, daily chart, I think everything is really, really choppy. So yeah, there could be some downside here for GJ. Waiting for a bit more conviction lower, then yeah, pullbacks make some sense. But even with all of that, still not the biggest fan of the price action, I must admit. DAX 1 minute chart. Michelle, yes, we can take a look at US 30, no problem. We add that to the list. Did you say DAX 1 minute? Yeah. DAX 1 minute. Oh, interesting. Price is at that key level and we're throwing some wicks. I quite like that. If DAX is going to fly, if DAX is going to see some upside, it's probably going to be from here. If we do break through, well, that will be my new target for the DAX. So very, very critical area, very interesting area where we're trading right now. As for the 1 minute chart, so really going deep undercover with this one. Okay, so of course we got a bit of a bearish structure here. So I wouldn't be looking at any buys really. I know where I just mentioned, this is a great place for a buy, but not on the 1 minute chart. On the 1 minute chart, you've got a lot of bearish structure to deal with here. If anything, I'll probably be looking for another move back into the highs here for a short, really. Yeah, I'll wait for price to push back into this area. And it wouldn't be like for a big swing trade. It would just be for, okay, I know this is solid resistance. I know that the overall trend is still bearish. I know that we probably can get a reaction there. So in terms of like a smart play for a short, I would suggest the high there. Last time we were here, we saw a nice continuation, came back into the same area, nice continuation, get back there again. I'm not suggesting we'll get another big continuation, although we could, but I would bet that we can get at least a reaction worthwhile trading. Even if price does push down and then forms a high low later on, this is still somewhat we can profit from. So the DAX 1 minute chart, I'll say things are quite choppy, and I think rightly so because of where we're trading. Price could definitely reverse from here, but I think that would be a smart place for a short. And again, because the market structure is so bearish, I wouldn't really be entertaining any buys just yet. But I think the DAX is quite interesting from a 4-hour perspective. Really key level, a lot of rejection here. We're starting to see some wicks forming. If we do see some momentum and some strength, I think that's a decent place for a buy. And of course, if price does break lower, then either shorts on the breakout or some pullbacks make sense. And then, yeah, targets right at the low. So, yeah, some interesting opportunities on the DAX there. More so like a 4-hour hourly chart. I think 1 minute chart looks really crazy. Okay, so we can take a look at... where was I? We did the GJ DAX. Okay, Aussie dollar we'll take a look at next. DXY, no direction. Yeah, I would agree. Smacking flies while watching. Yeah, very choppy. The only USD pair which I like at the moment is dollar CAD. I feel like there's a lot of direction with dollar CAD as well. I do like what I'm seeing with dollar CAD in terms of momentum, in terms of direction. So I would actually say I'm pretty bearish on dollar CAD. Other USD pairs look just really flat. I have no idea what they're doing. But USD CAD, based on where we're trading, we can go take a look at that one in a moment. But I quite like what I'm seeing. As for Aussie dollar, yeah, it's another USD pair which I'm not the biggest fan of. I've highlighted a couple levels where we could see a reaction and see some shorts come into play. But again, I'm not banking on such a big move here because I'm looking at the the general kind of direction for Aussie dollar, it's slightly to the upside, but more so just really flat. So if the market is flat, the best way to trade it is just look to sell from significant resistance and buy from significant support. We had a really strong rejection here. Of course, the news did play a big part with that. But now approaching resistance, I would suggest that's now a great place for a sell. Likewise with that area up there as well. So I quite like what I'm seeing here with Aussie dollar. Those two levels look really good to me. Strong reaction from them. We're having a very kind of slow move to the upside. I do think price can get here and see a move lower. Again, in terms of targets, that's where things get a little bit interesting, because potentially you could see a swing back down here, but I wouldn't bank on that. I would say halfway, maybe a push here, something a bit more reasonable. I know you're not looking at such a big swing, but I think that's quite realistic, and then we'll go from there. Maybe price forms a higher low, maybe price smashes through. But more so for Aussie dollar, it's just kind of, okay, we're flat, so we're kind of just trying to call the tops and bottoms. We're not trying to look for continuation plays, because there is nothing to continue here. There's no trend, no direction really. So just finding significant areas to play with. So that's kind of my take on Aussie dollar, really. Not my favorite pair, but I think that's the best opportunity I can see. Okay, so we'll go through. We'll take a look at the DXY next. Yep, US 30. Michelle will take a look. Almost forgot about that one. We'll go through US 30 as well. Yeah, 6% is good going, Bashi. 6% is very good going. No problem, Yusuf. Happy to help. Yeah, of course. Everything's hypothetical. And again, the thing with trade, you don't need to take advantage of every opportunity either as well. Because, some opportunities, of course, one month will be very fruitful. The other month, not so fruitful as well. You're just trying to take the best ones. Of course, you will miss some of the best ones as well. It's a part of trading, but as long as you can get a decent chunk and it provides you enough opportunities for the month, that's really all that matters, really. As for US 30, then we'll take a look at the DXY. So not DXY, US 30, nice rejection of this area, looking really bullish. I like US 30 because of the close we had last week. Very, very impressive, breaking through very significant levels of resistance, once, twice, third time over there. As we can see, resistance there as well, really strong break and a really strong close. So I quite like what I'm seeing for US 30, and if we can stay above this area, I do think we are likely to see more highs, price get back to new all-time highs, of course, and then we'll go from there. We've got 46K, which is the next big psychological level, not too far away from us as well. So I quite like what I'm seeing here with US 30. In terms of an opportunity, we did speak about the break and retest initially at the start of the week. Since that, of course, has already happened and we've come back to highs. And the next best opportunity for US 30, in my eyes, would be if price was to come back and revisit. Maybe form somewhat of a double bottom, retest the lows again. I think that would be a very smart place for a buy. Not only are we retesting significant resistance now turn support on like the daily, weekly chart, but of course you've got that double bottom potential coming to play. The retest of price structure in the 4-hour chart. It's just a very smart place for a long if we can get there, of course. If not, then the next best opportunity would just be a break and retest of the highs and looking for more upside there. I'm not looking to sell at all. The only way I'll turn bearish or be looking for selling opportunities for US 30s if we do break back underneath that daily zone, because of course that would turn into a big fake out, and then perhaps a retest and a short is what will be the best play after that. So yeah, if we do come crashing back down, back below this area, that would be a bearish signal to me. Of course, that hasn't happened yet. So for now, we're focused on price bouncing there. And since we did such a good job early in the week, if we can get there again, I think that would be a great place to find some entries. And at the very least, take it back to the highs. And then we'll go from there. So yeah, I quite like what I'm seeing with US 30. Still a very bullish market, expecting a lot more upside. Yeah, but the DXY is just really flat, so not much to report on this one. We start the week over here. Where was Sunday? Yeah, so this was the first candle of the week, this bullish candle here. So we had that aggressive sell last Friday, came into support. Now the question was, okay, is this momentum for real? You know, is price really going to continue here, or are we going to return and bounce at support? Of course, in hindsight, we can see we got the latter. Price retested support and did see a nice push higher. And then we made a push to resistance. Then it was like, okay, is price now going to break resistance and start to continue higher? Or we're going to fall flat on our face? And of course, we can see we fell flat on our face as well. Now price again, making its move back into support. What is the next play here? Do we reject it? Do we break through? Of course, at some point, price is going to break through. But until we get that, I'm always kind of going to anticipate price to bounce again. Yeah, the key takeaway for me, dollar, is lack of direction. So I wouldn't be looking for trending opportunities really. If you are on the lower time frames, I'll keep it short and sweet just because direction isn't really clear. And as soon as I see price break support or break resistance, then I'll be focusing a lot more on USD pairs. And if we do break lower, these will be my targets. If we do break higher, these will be my target. So whichever way price does make its move, it's kind of, I do have an idea, I do have a play for it. But yeah, at the moment it's not quite there yet for me. Okay. Where was I? Okay, we can take a look at pound CHF as well. No one likes M1. I'm pretty sure M1's pretty popular, to be fair. M1 is pretty popular. I'll say probably more popular than the 4-hour chart. Or maybe not, I don't know. Actually. But yeah, pound CHF we can take a look at next. Yusuf, UJ in the 50, no problemo. Savvy, pound NZD, we can add that to the list as well. Bias on the DXY in the 15. Bias on the DXY in the 15 is probably going to be similar to my bias. Actually, no, it won't be. I was going to say similar to my bias on Euro, but not really. I don't really have a bias in the 15, to be honest with you, Yusuf. Like I said, we've got support here, so naturally that could provide some nice long opportunities on the dollar. And bias will be bullish here. Would I be looking to sell the market? No, not really anymore. Yes, we had some nice momentum there, but now we've kind of come a bit flat. But I keep trying to look to sell. No. The way I see now, we're kind of in a new phase. We were bearish throughout most of the week here. Well, not really most of the week. We've been bullish to bearish. But now we're kind of flat now, so I would be pausing my bias. I wouldn't try and find anything here with the DXY. So bias 15-minute chart would be neutral. If price does make a move into support here, then it would be bullish, naturally looking for a bounce, of course. But where we are right now, price could do something like this or something like this. I'll just kind of be keeping a close eye and just monitoring everything. So bias neutral right now. Unless, of course, we do make a move to support where, naturally looking for a bounce, looking for a buy on that area. But looking at the 15, not a fan of what I'm seeing, to be honest. Not a fan at all. I'll look at pound CHF, then we can take a look at UJ on the 15 as well. So yeah, for pound CHF, looking somewhat bearish this morning. Looks like pound was pretty weak this morning. Pound yen down, pound USD down, pound Swiss down. Euro pound, I'm pretty sure, is on the up as well. I think pound CAD is looking pretty bearish too. So pound is definitely very, very weak. We do have support to our left here. Prior highs gave us our last bearish move. Price has since broken through that, and now looks like we are still testing. So this is still not a bad place for a long. I kind of like how we're moving. Very, very corrective, very flat. It's kind of like price is building up for something. And it could be a nice explosion to the upside. So I quite like that as a possibility, as an opportunity for pound CHF. But I would say if we are going to look to take a buy like that, well, there's two ways to go about it. You can look for buys at this area, which would be the slightly more aggressive trade, because effectively what we have here is like a descending channel, really. You know, connecting the highs there roughly, and then let's see if I just clone that, and then you got one connecting the lows here roughly. So if you do buy down here, your kind of best bet for now would be something like this back into resistance, where of course price potentially could roll back over. But here, the benefit of getting involved here is you're right at the lows. So in terms of your entry, in terms of your risk, your stop loss doesn't need to be anything crazy, just underneath the lows there pretty much. So it can be relatively tight. And if you do manage to capitalize on this move, there's always that 50-50 potential breakout that you could possibly catch. And, you know, you could be having an entry over here and taking advantage of a really big move. Therefore, risk reward looks pretty high. The second way to get involved is kind of waiting for price to make that move, either buying on breakouts or waiting for price to form some type of bullish structure and some pullbacks afterwards, and trying to find some pullbacks and some longs afterwards. That would be the second opportunity, because at least at that point you've got the conviction, you've got the momentum, and then you're just looking for a continuation of that. So this would be the earlier trade, slightly more aggressive, slightly more risky. Of course, price could still fall straight through this level. It's not guaranteed that we do bounce, although I'm liking the reaction we're seeing at the moment. But this candle still has 46 minutes before it does close, so there's a lot of trading to do before we do get the final look at that candle. But momentum looks good. We're at a key level of support, as we just highlighted, and because we're quite corrective and quite stagnant, I do think we're likely to bounce and see some upside. So if you do get long here, looking for a push there, that's kind of the first part of the plan. Then if you are looking for that bigger move, you want to see some evidence of price breaking through. If you don't get that, it looks like price is rejecting, you're seeing some closures looking pretty aggressive against you, you can always just close the trade and move on to the next one. But yeah, depending how you want to tackle that, you can either look for some entries on the low time frames at the moment now, or wait for price to kind of show some signs of its breaking to the upside, and that itself could be a nice buy, possibly even a swing back to highs there could be a part of the plan. But yeah, I would be bullish there for pound Swiss based on where we're trading. Got some nice areas of demand to the left as well. This is where price had a brief consolidation, massive candle break into the upside, so there is some confluence here for a buy. But yeah, keep an eye on that channel. We'll take a look at UJ on the 15-minute next. Okay, so yeah, for dollar yen on the 15, yeah, things still look really flat here. So as I mentioned yesterday, buys back at the lows make sense, and looks like we pretty much got that. Price came back to the low of the range-ish. I'm not really considering that as the low. I'm looking at this more as a fake out, so I'm taking into consideration these kind of points as the low of the range, and the high of the range is kind of this area here. That's kind of what I'm looking at, this test and that test, even though it was slightly above. But the market has been quite messy. There's a pretty key level here as well, which price has been retesting pretty well too. But yeah, I'm kind of paying a bit more attention to this area. But anyway, price has come back to the low. It looks to be a nice rejection. If I scale to the 50-minute chart, I mean, probably not the best rejection actually, but I liked how corrective we were. And again, when price is correctively falling into a key level, that's a good chance price is likely to bounce through. So, if we're kind of slowing down, it's a sign that, okay, that momentum is dying off. The sellers taking us, the sellers that are actually managing to move price lower, starting to relax, buyers starting to enter the market. That's a good sign that that support level or the resistance level could hold. If we're coming for a lot of force, you want to kind of see a big rejection to kind of back that up, because if not, that force could very much break. But anyway, price is kind of looking quite corrected, quite flat right now. So if I was looking to buy this one, I probably would wait for another push back into that same level and look for opportunities there again, and hopefully for another bounce because right now we're looking really corrective, so I wouldn't try and find some buys here. I think it's a little bit late for an entry, and 2, we are quite corrective, which means there's a good chance we could still see another push back down again. So UJ on the 15, I will be looking for buys, back at support. So another push lower. I'm not a big fan of that rejection. It wasn't really anything significant, so I would like to see something slightly more significant. Let's say we get pushed down, maybe a brief consolidation forms, and then like a strong close. That's really nice for an entry. Then yeah, I'll take some buys off the back of that if I was trading the 15, that is. But yeah, I would be bullish on UJ in the 15 simply because of where we're trading and the location of everything at the low of the range. So I wouldn't be wanting to be selling anyway. This location only makes sense for buys in my opinion. So yeah, for now that's what I'll be looking at for UJ. There is a slight uptrend at play as well. If I connect these higher lows, you got 1, 2, potentially a third test. There's always that potential, break lower and then the buy. I think that's something to keep an eye on as well. But for now, since we are very flat, since we are respecting support, I would only be looking to take some buys there. Okay. Where was I? Pound entity. Savvy, we can take a look as well, no problem. Yeah, so leverage went through dollar yen. So from a swing bias, this is actually where my interest lies. I like this area of demand here, really strong push to the upside. I like the trend line confluence there as well. So from a buyer's perspective, especially a swing one as well, I'll be looking at something like this because we're already flat right now. So I kind of like if we can push down, take out some of these weaker lows, test this area, hopefully get the next higher low, 1, 2, potentially a third. I think that could be a smart place for a buy. I mean, potentially we could be looking at a big swing back to highs, or it could just be a slight move as well. It doesn't have to be the home run. Even something like this is worthwhile to trade as well. So yeah, dollar yen from a swing bias, I'd say keep an eye around 145. At the moment we are in a range, so longs at the low makes sense as well. But again, all you're looking to do really is just pick the low of the range. And I would suggest maybe some targets around resistance here, 140, 147.9. Otherwise, really choppy price action. But yeah, next we'll take a look at pound NZD. FX team, we can take a look at gold as well, no problem. Oh, you fixed it. Oh, you fixed the YouTube chat. Okay, cool. So that means you can chat through the platform onto YouTube. Is that what you fixed? Manzondi, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Have you done any crypto yet? No, I have not. I can definitely go through a few of them. Take a look at BTC, which is looking interesting. I'll take a look at Ethereum as well. Lebsy, what is up? Welcome to the stream. Say it's fair to expect a consolidation when two assets are moving in the same direction. When looking at the individual baskets, possibly. It depends how aggressively they're moving in the same direction, because one market, they could both be bullish, but one could be more bullish than the other. Therefore, there could still be a bit of a trend. There could still be a bit of a move between the two. It just depends how bullish or bearish they are. But yeah, if they're fairly of the same nature, then yeah, you can definitely expect consolidation between the two if the individual baskets are looking quite alike. Like for example, if you look at the yen basket and you look at the dollar, both of them are very flat right now, not really moving. And of course, coincidentally, we've got dollar yen on our screen right now, and of course, dollar yen is consolidating. So pretty much backing up your statement there. But of course, let's say if yen was falling, but dollar yen was just falling, twice as hard, then it still would be some type of trend there, because of course, their strengths are different, their weaknesses are different. But for the most part, yeah, if they're similar strength and weakness, they are going to consolidate. What's up, Tony Gold? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good, my man. Okay, let's go through pound NZD before I forget, and we can take a look at some crypto markets as well. Of course, any pairs you guys are interested in, drop it in the chat. We can take a look. So yeah, pound NZD, interesting stuff, I must admit, because we're falling pretty hard right now. I know pound's a bit weak. Is NZD a bit strong? I think it is a bit strong. But yeah, pound NZD is falling pretty hard. Now, of course, recently we've seen a really nice swing to the upside, a lot of momentum. We have come crashing back into resistance here, so it looks like price is really struggling from that high. This was an area of interest for me. Still, it is an area of interest for me for pound NZD, because this was a brief pause in the market, a nice area of demand, of course, spat out all of this momentum. Price perhaps could be coming for a retest before continuation. But I'm looking in the 4-hour chart, I'm looking in the hourly chart. This retracement did start pretty corrective, which is what I like to see. I like all my retracements to be slow, corrective, especially after such a big move. But then suddenly momentum's picked up and now things are not looking as good. I still think this is an area which we can see a bounce, but I wouldn't get too excited. I wouldn't have the same expectations as I had coming into the week. Coming into the week was very much, okay, let's look for a corrective pullback, retest an area of demand, and targets back at highs, and then we'll go from there. My new take is, okay, we are still, for the most part, quite corrective, but this bearish leg is indicating momentum shifting, and of course, take into consideration that we are respecting highs. I wouldn't be surprised if we do completely reverse here. So my new kind of take on pound NZD is, yes, we're coming to a nice area of demand where we can definitely bounce. Not really seeing signs of that yet, so again, I would wait for wicks and momentum to shift before looking for any entries. But my new take would be just to see if we can push back into structure, because I would probably expect us to find resistance again and probably push lower. So I wouldn't be looking for that push back to highs anymore, more so just a short-term move before maybe we do sell off. We'll find out when we get there. But yeah, pound NZD for now is still definitely in an uptrend. We're still coming back to key areas of demand where we can see potentially buyers step in, but taking into consideration where we're coming from, what we're rejecting, and the fact that the market is, I would say, quite overextended as well to the upside, I wouldn't be too confident with buys and trying to target highs anymore. I'll be a little bit more watchful of this trade. So yeah, keep an eye. At the moment, we're really bearish, so there's no signs of us turning around. But let's say if you do start to find some wicks and reject well, I do think this is an area which we can find some buys from and target resistance, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, no longer confident in that bullish swing. Way too aggressive. If we were still corrective, sure, but that's not the case. Okay, we'll go take a look at gold quickly. Of course, gold's seen some behavior, some bullish momentum recently, but I'm not the biggest fan of gold. It's just a really flat market. So as always, until we get to the high of the range or the low of the range, I'm really not looking to do too much. So as price does make a move back to 34, 35, which is this high here, that's really where my focus is for gold. Not too far anymore. We have seen some upside, so perhaps another day's worth of price action. We could be trading at that high maybe next Monday potentially. So definitely going to keep an eye on that. But yeah, my focus is still at that level, whether gold is going to break out or retest it or reject it. That's really what I'm now looking forward to with gold, really, because there will be opportunities despite the direction, whether we are breaking out or respecting that level. And I quite like we are quite corrective. The price is not necessarily steamrolling to the upside. It's quite a slow grind higher, which might mean that we do sell off, but we'll judge that when price actually gets there. There might be some intraday pullbacks and some continuations. We have been quite consistent with the higher lows on intraday time frames. You could see price pull back and continue. The only thing putting me off that kind of intraday opportunity is this high here, because price is still in a very choppy environment, especially kind of taking trades around these areas can be quite difficult. These are very sensitive areas, and I wouldn't be surprised if gold does go for a bit of a sell-off before maybe we do push higher. So I will be quite careful with that. But nonetheless, yeah, my attention is still at 34.30, and that's where I will do a bit more of a deep dive into analysis, whether we're rejecting or perhaps breaking through. As we're not quite there yet, it's the same old, just waiting for price to push to the top end of resistance. of the range. Okay, so we'll go through a couple of cryptocurrencies. We'll take a look at BTC, Ethereum, the two big boys. We'll go through them as well. Savvy, yes, we can take a look at USD as well. What's up, Lighton? Welcome to the stream. Good to see you again back on the stream. Hope you're good. Kindly check USDC, Jeff, New Zealand dollar after request of the pairs. No problem. We can take a look. Okay, where was I? So yeah, we'll go through USD. Did I miss a pair? I feel like I haven't. I don't know. If I've missed a pair, just let me know. No harm, no foul. Just put it in the chat. We can go through some cryptocurrencies first. We'll take a look at BTC. Then we'll go through Ethereum. Then we'll go through USD. So Bitcoin, very bearish this morning here. And I did say keep a watchful eye on BTC. You know, we did come back to a nice area of demand this week, which was this area here. But I did say I'm not expecting anything big here. I'm just expecting a reaction, mostly because it's a strong area of demand. Last time price was here, that's a pretty meaningful push, pretty meaningful drive higher. But I wouldn't get too excited because price, number one, just formed a really aggressive double top, which is not the sign of a healthy market, a healthy trending market anyway. And we are technically breaking structure here as well. So not only are we forming double tops, but we're breaking necklines as well. So yes, this is a nice area of demand, and yes, this could be an area which we could see buyers into the market and see a push higher. But at the same time, we are showing signs of weakness, showing signs that the trend is potentially hitting some type of top, and this could be a sign of more downside. So, and the fact that when we did reject this area, it was really corrective on the way up. Again, another red flag. But we are back at support. We are back at demand. We could still find opportunities for another long here. So despite all of that, this could still be an area of where we can look to buy the market. Again, we haven't broke through yet, so it's not to say that, you know, price is definitely going to sell off here. We could still very much turn around and see some upside. But despite that, again, targets, I'll keep them on the conservative side of things. I wouldn't be looking for a push back to highs. If I can get a push back to resistance there, I think that'd be a great trade in itself. Potentially call it a day there, or, you know, look to lock in some gains at the very least. So yeah, BTC back at demand, back at support. I do think naturally still an area which you can find a buy from until price shows to us we're actually going to break through. Yeah, I would retain that bullish bias. If we do start see convincing momentum to the downside, then yeah, going into next week, I would suggest pullbacks and more downside. Perhaps price is going to push back to these lows. But I want to see a more convincing drop. I want to see momentum really break through structure to our left and these lower highs, you know, continue. And that's the case. We'll probably find a lower high somewhere and a short maybe next week, maybe retesting the same zone. So there is room to the downside for the for BTC. I don't know why I keep saying the dollar. There is room to the downside for Bitcoin. We are forming double tops there. This is not a good sign. We're breaking structure as well. So we are still at support. We are still at demand. Price could still bounce. Keep an eye on that. It's too early to say if we will or will not. Pretty aggressive candle closing to the downside there. So we're going to gauge momentum, gauge rejection here. If things look good, great. Take some buys. If we're breaking through, then yeah, I would be bearish on BTC. Maybe a push all the way down to 98, 100K. Could be the next bet, and trying to pick the next high, lower high will be the next opportunity. As for Ethereum, Ethereum's been interesting. Of course, Ethereum is still as a whole a bullish market. If we expand to the daily chart, you can see we are trending higher. Of course, we just about pinched all-time highs there as well. Such a significant level of resistance. Price is broken through. As you can see, we have come back for a nice little retest there and a nice move to the upside. The only thing I didn't like about Ethereum is the way we kind of formed this wick here. This line here is the all-time high. If I quickly scroll to the left, actually no. Let me go to the daily chart because that scroll might take a while. You have to go way back to 2021 for that. So you can see this is the all-time high. So the way price rejected that all-time high was not nice at all. Really aggressive candle pushing to the upside, and then we formed this wick. So price tried to continue but failed, and then fell flat right back down. We are respecting this area of demand somewhat, and we did see a nice bounce there. But it looks to me that price came back into resistance, supply struggle, and now we're back at support. So we're seeing some bearish momentum across the board here on some of the bigger cryptocurrencies. Still a nice place for a buy, still a strong area of demand, still gave us a strong move up. We're back there again. We could see nice double bottom form. I would suggest if this area doesn't hold and doesn't give us the bounce, then of course this becomes the next area, which is 4100, really big level. So the buys make a lot of sense there as well. If price breaks back underneath that, then that's the big red flag for Ethereum, because then this becomes somewhat of a big fake out, and we could be looking at something like this happening for Ethereum. So if you break below 4K, that's the time to start. Okay, I'm gonna stay away for the buys for now, and probably entertain some shorts here. So until that happens, I will still be looking at buys, whether it's from this demand zone or this support level, back at 4100. So yeah, for now, that's kind of where I'm at with Ethereum. But of course, because we are failing at highs, I would play it safe. Let's say if you do catch a buy here, I think resistance here is a good target. Likewise, if you do catch a buy here, I'll probably keep an eye on this level here to book profit or close the trade. I'm a bit skeptical in terms of the bullishness on these cryptocurrencies right now. I wouldn't be surprised if you do start trending bearish. Again, not to say that, okay, panic time. If you look at the bigger picture, more so at the weekly charts, everything is still very, very bullish for these guys, especially BTC. Very, very bullish still. We could still afford to see, let me get rid of this. We can still afford to see price do something like this here. And still form another higher low to continue higher. This trend, of course, could continue for a while, but, price could even do something like this as well. So, yeah, the market is still bearish, but perhaps it's time to see somewhat of a counter trend form. So, yeah, cryptocurrencies not looking great, I must admit. Euro NZD, so yeah, similar to pound NZD, but of course not with the same weakness. Pound, of course, is a lot weaker than euro, so this is still quite corrective. So I still actually quite like the buys here with Euro NZD. Nice demand zone, really aggressive push to the upside. You got a lovely counter trend move there, a counter trend line there. So I would suggest here is a nice place for a buy and a nice place to see some upside. And again, keeping it relatively simple, I think a push back to highs makes the most sense. Market is still bullish. We're still seeing consistent higher lows. Yes, we are quite corrective, so I'm not expecting this trend to continue forever. In fact, I do think we're approaching an end soon. Whether it's ending now or we can see another swing to the upside, then it ends, who knows. But for now, I still like the buys. I still do think we can see price push higher. So strong demand zone, really nice momentum, really corrective move down. So the impulse correction pattern is very much underway here. In terms of entries, I probably would suggest let's see if we can get there first. Maybe a nice powerful close beyond the counter trend line could be a great confluence to back up an entry. And from there onwards, yeah, expecting a push back to highs at 2.00250. So yeah, Euro NZD looks a lot better than pound NZD for the buys, simply on the momentum we've seen recently. I still think both of them are testing key areas where both of them can bounce from, but I'd rather test my luck on Euro NZD just because it's a more corrective, cleaner pullback. Pound NZD, I think, yes, we can see some upside, but I do worry of a lower high forming a little bit quicker there. Whereas Euro NZD, strong break of that counter trend line, I think we're in business for a push back to highs. So hopefully that made sense on that one. So we'll go through Lightens pairs next, dollar CHF, New Zealand dollar afterwards as well. Tony Garno missed gold. I can go through it again quickly, but the way I'm looking at gold is just the market's ranging. Yes, we've seen some upside now. but we're just going to push back to the high of the range, and that's really where the analysis comes into play for me. In the middle of the range, I'm not really looking too much into detail what price is doing with gold. It's just basically when we hit the high or hit the low, that's when my interest is peaked, because that's where the opportunities do lie for me. Okay, so we'll go through some USD pairs. What's up, Lenny? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Today I'm late. Better late than ever. Better late than ever. The stream is not ending yet, so you got some time. And of course, all streams you can always go back through them. They're all on the channel, of course. We'll take a look at USD ZAR first, and then we'll go through New Zealand dollar. So USD ZAR seeing some upside. Oh, interesting, because dollar's been a little bit weak. Yeah, a little bit weak recently, and USD ZAR has actually been pushing up. So a little bit of out of sync there. But anyway, key support has held really, really well. Key support has held really well. First test, second test, third test, fourth test to a degree, and price had a really nice bounce at that area. So I like what I'm seeing here with USD ZAR. And again, if you're looking for another opportunity, as I said yesterday, this is kind of where I would like to find my opportunity. In and around this area, would I be looking to sell? No, not really. I can see resistance here, yeah, sure, but I wouldn't necessarily be excited to be trying to short off the back of that. It's not really a significant area. It's not really located anywhere significant. The way I see USD ZAR right now, it's kind of a bit of a range here. Equal lows, more or less equal highs. And we have been quite flat. Of course, price has been trending really well to the downside, but we are starting to form somewhat of a bottom now, or a bit of a range. And if I'm going to look to trade within this, I want to position myself well, and that would be some longs here, maybe some shorts back at the high here. Could make some sense. We can speak about that in a while, because we're nowhere near that area really. We're kind of nowhere near this area here as well, but that's the most recent opportunity we've discussed, and that is still very much a valid opportunity. It's been such a significant level of support. If we can get there again, provided we see some more rejection, I think it's still a smart place for a buy. So yeah, the way I see USD ZAR right now, we're kind of flattening out. We're kind of becoming sideways here a little bit. So treating it more like a range. In that regard, it just means looking to buy low and sell high. This area is kind of more so middle of the range, so I don't really want to be looking at anything really there. But let's say if you do push back to 17.48, I think that's a smart place for a buy, even if it's just to push back to resistance here. I think you're looking pretty good there. And as for New Zealand dollar, yeah, we've seen a bit more upside for this one as well. Not really lighting up the market in terms of aggressive momentum, kind of just slowly shifting higher. But the way I see it, again, still very much in this descending channel. We've got prior lower highs over here, we've got lower lows over here, and simply looks like price has just rejected the low of the channel, and now naturally seeing a push to the upper end of the channel. So in terms of opportunities, again, my focus is always at the top and bottom of the channel. If I'm looking to find a trade, I'm looking to buy the low or sell the high depending on my bias. Very similar to my Aussie yen position. Same idea really. There's your channel. Bought the low, or you're looking to sell the high. I don't want to be looking for kind of micro indecisive moves inside the range, because that's where trouble lies. I'm simply looking to buy with the expectation of a push up, or sell with the expectation of a move back down, and that's the same case here for New Zealand dollar. So the next opportunity, I would say, is of course up there. We did speak about buys here, but price didn't do quite enough to return to support. So it's either you were in the trade over here, or maybe you did find an entry later on. But yeah, I would have liked price to get there again. So yeah, now approaching resistance. We'll see what price does. Of course, there is an element that price could break to the upside as well, so watch out for that. If we do make a significant break to the upside, perhaps we are going to start pushing back to these highs. That could be something to investigate, but I'd wait for the breakout and then we can comment on that. But for now, yeah, in terms of interest, in terms of just setups in general, that's where the location, that's the location I would focus on, 0.59300. So yeah, that's really my focus for New Zealand dollar. And it's interesting because we're going to have to see how USD does play out, because again, USD for me is still quite indecisive. Still not completely sure what dollar is looking to do. So that will of course affect New Zealand dollar's price action. Okay, so hopefully that made sense on USD ZAR and New Zealand dollar. No problem, Bashi. Yeah, not always gonna play ball, to be honest. The price wasn't letting me get into the trade. I think that's good discipline though. It's good discipline because when you do have a bias, and a big part of that's kind of waiting for your confirmations, your whatever confluence is telling up to take the trade. And a big part of trading is kind of waiting for that actually to set up to actually trigger you into the position. You could developing a bias is not necessarily hard, but kind of being patient enough to wait for the opportunity to actually trade that bias correctly according to your strategy, according to your plan, is the harder part of it. And staying consistent with that, staying consistent with your entry, staying consistent with your approach is a big part of trading as well. And you don't want to be in a situation where you have a bias and you don't want to miss out. The fear of missing out comes into play. You start taking some random entries to try and trade it. Yeah, that's not a good place to be in. You'll be a lot more emotional in those positions because you're not in it for a good reason. You're just in it because you don't want to miss out on the move. And then you're going to mismanage the trade most likely. Yeah, everything just doesn't come good of that. So being patient enough to say that, okay, the bias might play out without me here, but if there is nothing that fits the plan, nothing actually giving me an entry signal, then there's not much I can do really. And the USD price action in the channel currently the cleanest. Thanks, Big Man. No problem, Lighten. Happy to help, bro. Yeah, I do agree. It's actually behaving text. If you were to look up the textbook example of a descending channel, it's not far off this, to be honest. Very clean moves, respecting it proportionally very, very well. So yeah, in terms of just following the principles of a descending channel, New Zealand dollar is doing that very, very well, I must say. And yeah, we'll see if we can keep doing that back at the high. Could be an opportunity within itself there. Yeah, exactly. Price has to come to you. Yeah, of course. Yeah, psychological element of trading is a whole different ball game in itself, because of course everyone here to make a profit, and sometimes you're gonna have to give up opportunities to make a profit because it's not quite ticking your boxes, and that can be difficult to do sometimes, and it's the right thing to do, but yeah, keeping your head in the game, keeping your mindset correct is a big part of trading, really. Yes, Lenny, we can take a look at US 30 as well. Yeah, I agree, Bashi. I agree. Yeah, because risk management isn't necessarily something crazy. It's not something it's going to take you years to learn per se. It's not something you have to go to university to understand how to, the principles of risk management. You're just essentially managing your risk, keeping your risk small, and you're trying to make sure that some of your wins outweigh the sum of your losses, which principally is not difficult to do, is in terms of working out how to do that, risk to reward, win rate, managing trades. But of course, actually doing it under pressure, while actually live conditions, money's on the line, Maybe if you've taken a few losses here and there, that can affect your mindset as well. So yeah, from that degree, 100%. Anyway, let's go through the Dow Jones. So yeah, US 30, I quite like what I'm seeing. I'm very, very bullish on US 30. I'd probably say it's one of the cleaner indices at the moment. I quite like the DAX as well. But very significant resistance here. We've broken through that. Really impressive candle. And now I'm looking for price to continue higher. So the way I see it with US 30, in terms of an opportunity, I kind of want to see price push back into this area because, of course, we just failed at the high. So, despite the momentum we saw, we're still struggling to continue higher. So if that's the case, I want price to go back to support. Somewhat of a range is kind of forming here, but this is really where I want to position myself for a buy. If, of course, price does break below that, that's a big red flag, and I'd probably be, I'd probably actually be bearish at that point in time. But for now, that hasn't happened yet, so of course still bullish. So in terms of an opportunity, waiting for price to retest support or break the highs again, and of course continue off the back of that, perhaps a retest, perhaps some pullback opportunities off the back of that could make some sense. But I like this opportunity here because you're coming back to significant support on the higher time frames, retesting structure here on the daily 4-hour chart as well. And from a swing perspective, can take advantage of a swing back to highs and maybe new highs as well. So you position yourself pretty well. So yeah, US 30 pretty bullish. It all comes back to that daily candle breaking through to the upside. As long as we stay above this area, I'm expecting somewhat of a trend to follow, and that's to continue higher here. That is exactly what I'm looking for. But it's quite interesting because today is pretty significant because it's the last trading day of August. I only just realized that as I started the stream because I mentioned, okay, we're going to get the weekly candle that closes today, but I was like, okay, yeah, the weekend is the last day of August, isn't it? So today is the last candle, the last daily candle, last weekly candle, which of course is going to sum up the price action for August. So I'm going to go quickly through some monthly candles and some weekly candles just to see how August is looking at. I'm not expecting anything crazy because I think we've had a lot of consolidation this month, haven't we? At least with the USD pairs, I know. Yen pairs, I know. So probably not seeing much here, but it's nice to see what the month has done in summary, and that could help kind of develop a bias into next month. Sometimes it doesn't provide any information, especially if it's like a doji or something. But sometimes it's good to keep an eye on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're focusing on the money, sometimes you actually push it away as well. Trading something, you got to focus on the chart. Really, of course, easier said than done. Absolutely, but profit is always the byproduct of your actions on the chart. Yeah. Trading, gambling, fine line. Very fine line. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, DXY. You can go to DXY. I'm actually interested to see how that one looks on the higher time frames as well. So yeah, DXY. So looks like despite the strength we saw last month, this was July, looks like price is basically struggling to break through this area here. Again, this month's price action doesn't provide too much detail. It's bearish, but it's not like it's engulfing. It's closing about 3/4 of the way down. I could see potentially September filling that gap or even starting bullish and pushing back to resistance. So not a lot to take away on the monthly chart. Weekly chart. Let me get rid of the drawing. Weekly chart. A lot of wicks to the upside, so that's not a good sign at all for the buyers. Of course, this week still has, 12 hours left before the candle does close, so things can change. We do have a bit of news this afternoon as well, so maybe that can affect things, but I'm seeing a lot of wicks to the upside, very minimal wicks to the downside here. So that tells me that, yes, we've been trying to rally, but we're really struggling at that. Typically, price moves in the path of least resistance. I would say probably got a greater chance of seeing a swing lower than a swing higher here, I would say. especially looking at this big wick here and taking that across. Looks like this zone is now just resistance, and price has been firing a lot of wicks into that. And if that closes kind of similar to how we're looking now, I would suggest we're getting ready for a bit of a swing back into these lows. So DXY not looking too good. Yeah, wicks not looking too good there, I must say. I wouldn't be surprised if you do spill over. Of course, doesn't mean I will look to short straight away, because we're still very much within this range. If I add the analysis back in, it's still very much trading in the range here. So despite the wicks we're seeing in the higher time frame, doesn't mean let's just jump into a short. But what it does mean, if we do end up breaking lower, we can be pretty confident that price is probably going to continue lower back to these areas. So that's when pullbacks come into play, and shorts actually look pretty good, because you've got that higher time frame backing. And now, of course, you've got clear evidence of us breaking through. So the breakout of this range is still very important, but the higher time frames are giving us some signs, some heads up that maybe breaking lower is the more likely outcome. So if we do break lower, there's a lot of confidence leading up to some opportunities there. But right now, DXY is just flat, so I'm not really reading into anything really too much right now until we make that move. And again, we could still very much see a swing to the upside as well before that happens, so I wouldn't get carried away. We're still ranging right now. I'm just waiting for price to make the breakout, and then we can speak about opportunities. But yeah, looking at that weekly chart, I would fancy us breaking lower, really. Those wicks tell a story, and they're not favoring the buyers, not at this point anyway. Let me take a look at Euro USD on the weekly as well. Yeah, Euro, same thing. Let me move my drawings. Euro USD, same thing as well. You can see massive wick over here, taking that across. Of course, we saw this big wick here a few weeks ago, and looks like still firing a lot of wicks to the downside there too. I wouldn't be surprised again if you do see price break higher. It still does come back down to the range in the lower time frames. You still do want to see price, break to the upside to show that conviction. But the wicks again do tell a story for us to say that, okay, we are struggling to go lower. Again, path of least resistance, I would say that's to the upside there for Euro. Pound USD, what we're looking at. Pound USD, not a lot of information there. How are we looking in the monthly chart? Yeah, monthly chart not doing anything crazy as well. Again, strong bearish engulfing candle last month. This month closing slightly bullish. Not a lot to take from that, to be honest. It drops the weekly as well. Current weekly candle, inside bar, not really giving us much information. Not really, consistent wicks in a particular direction. So yeah, pound pretty flat, not a lot to take from that one. Dollar CAD, however, a lot to take from this one on the weekly chart. You can see the wicks to the upside, and you can see how correct we've been. Of course, there's still a lot of momentum to the downside, and this looks to me that price is just literally forming a bit of a top here. Wick 1, wick 2, wick 3, not a good sign for the buyers. We're trying to rally but failing. And of course, this week's price action, this week's candle is closing with a bit of conviction to the downside here. Again, still does have a few hours left before it does close. We still do have some news in the afternoon, so things can turn and look a little bit different, but we are seeing some conviction lower. Of course, I will revisit this analysis on the weekend where everything is said and done, but this is kind of what I'm leaning towards. And the significant thing you can see with my crosshair, actually if I darken or brighten my crosshair, you'll see a little bit better. But you can see this resistance here in line with my crosshair. You can see us kind of wicking into that right now. And you can see previously really big moves to the downside from this area. We could see price continue back to low. So dollar CAD for me is looking pretty bearish. If DXY is going to fall to the downside as well, that should help dollar CAD to the downside too. So that's kind of why I like dollar CAD shorts here. I think they could be leading to something. Aussie dollar. Anything there on the weekly? Not really. I mean, yeah, some more wicks to the downside, so it does look like we're having trouble, but then we do have wicks to the upside as well, so I wouldn't say anything's overwhelmingly telling us a direction. Maybe, yeah, I can see a world where we do start to rally back to highs now, but it's still really, really flat, so I wouldn't get too excited about this one. Dollar CAD looks really clear. compared to Aussie dollar. And again, trading's not about trading every single market. I'm just looking at these high time frames to kind of spot the better opportunity. Dollar CAD kind of stands out to me, so I'd rather put my eggs in that basket. New Zealand dollar, similar situation. I mean, there's a lot of support here. You can see my crosshair. We just about looks like we're getting a test of that. Few wicks to the downside, but no real momentum as well. Again, I wouldn't get too excited about New Zealand dollar. But again, looks like we are struggling to break lower, so maybe we do find support there, but not the biggest takeaway. Monthly chart, yeah, nothing really there to take away. Looks like it's going to be a doji. Gold on the monthly, how are we looking? So gold about to potentially close bullish. We've seen consistent wicks, 1, 2, 3, 4. This candle's about to, unless we see a crazy rejection in the next 10 hours, it's not about to give us a wick to the upside, which again, not really significant. It means momentum is kind of being sustained, but at the same time, we're still below resistance. So we could very much see price plummet the next candle and reject this area. So not a lot to take there from gold. Yeah, momentum's starting to kind of climb now, but maybe it's hinting at price breaking to the upside, but it's not to a degree where I'll get too excited. We still are coming back to resistance, and this is not the biggest candle in the world either. So not a lot to take there on the monthly chart. How are we looking on the weekly? Yeah, not much momentum on the weekly, so not a lot to take there as well. Silver. I like last week's candle. Nice wick to the downside, strong close. This week's candle, bit of a wick to the downside as well. Looks like closing the doji, but we are trading resistance as well, so I wouldn't get too excited. Monthly chart still showing momentum is bullish though. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're getting from silver. Still very much an uptrend. Momentum is still just about with the buyers, but I was still very flat for now. If I have a quick look at some of the yen pairs, how are we closing on the weekly? Okay, I actually quite like what I'm seeing here for Aussie yen actually. I said momentum looks quite slow on the 4-hour chart, but I like this wick here, and I like how it's closing with this weekly candle. Looks like support is held really well, coming back into that demand zone. Perhaps we are onto something for break to the upside. I mean, that was the original plan, but it's just, of course, with how corrective we've been, I'm kind of expecting us to actually drop here, but I don't know, maybe we do get a push higher. We shall see, but I like what we're seeing there on the weekly chart. Monthly chart, I like what we're seeing on the monthly as well. Nice wicks to the downside. I can see a world where September does push up. You can see all the wicks there to our left. It looks like we kind of had the retest of that with this wick. Perhaps price can continue higher. GJ really flat, not a lot to tell there. Weekly chart really flat as well. How's the yen basket doing? Yeah, really flat there on the weekly, monthly. Not a lot to take. So yeah, I mean, Aussie yen, I like what I'm seeing, and so I'm trading it. But JPY still got work to do. Still got work to do. Okay, Yusuf, take care. Yeah, we'll have some updates on Monday for the challenge. But again, you won't miss it. I will definitely make sure I make enough noise so you won't miss it. And I'll post some when the application is being handed out to people. I'll post it on my Telegram as well, so you won't see it. And I'll make frequent updates on the streams next week, so you won't miss it. But yeah, do stick around. Monday, hopefully, we should have the form out to anyone who's interested, who wants to take part in the challenge. Again, just a little bit of fun on the Perps platform, trading cryptocurrencies. But yeah, we'll have some more information next week. Euro USD. Okay, I'll quickly wrap things up on Euro. So yeah, as I said, for Euro, very flat at the moment. Not a lot to take away from Euro right now. Like I said, we probably are hinting at a move to the upside based on what I'm seeing on the higher time frames. But until we get something like this actually breaking resistance and breaking all this noise, that's going to be our green light to actually look for opportunities, whether on breakouts or pullbacks or retests. Then we can get some longs, or of course, if price is going to break to the downside, then this is what I'll be waiting for some shorts back into the low. But the way I see it, we're kind of just stuck within the range here. Not a lot to do. Not a lot to do until we make these opportunities happen. So yeah, Euro, I like what I'm seeing, but patience is the game right now. Very flat at the moment. Hopefully maybe next week or maybe even this afternoon we might see some action, but nothing here quite yet. Anyway, guys, we have come up to the end of the stream. I do really appreciate each and every one of you tuning into the stream, chatting with myself, yeah, commenting, liking the stream does really help out. If you haven't liked the stream yet, please make sure you go and do so. It does really help out. I do really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit the bell as well so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. And of course, share it with your friends as well. Helps grow the channel. But guys, really appreciate you coming and chatting with me on the stream. Thank you everyone to helping out, making the stream for what it is as well. I appreciate the message, Bashi. Thank you a bunch for that. As always, guys, I will be posting my analysis on the weekend on Saturday, so do look out for that. Summarizing this week, recapping any trades I took, any trades I'm currently in, and of course going through the next week and forecasting the next week's analysis and top setups to look out for. So do look out for that video. But nonetheless, guys, thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and of course I'll see you all next week. Streams as always 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. every weekday. But besides from that, guys, thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend. I'll catch you all in the next one.
Introducing Zenthrick's AI-powered trading signals service. Tired of second-guessing your trades? Zenthrick's AI scans the markets 24/7 with powerful, proven indicators built to give you clarity. You get 200+ signals every day on 15-minute, 1-hour, 4-hour, and daily charts. We cover Forex, crypto, commodities, indices, and stocks, so you're covered no matter what you trade. And the best part, you get all this delivered 3 ways, every day. Web alerts give you fast, clean access right from your dashboard. Telegram delivers real-time entries, confidence levels, sentiment, and trade duration. And email gives you the full breakdown, including 2 profit target levels and deep market analysis. Just hold $5 worth of ZTR. See what you can achieve with powerful AI trading intelligence by Zenthrick. Try it now. And join our Telegram channel.